Wow, that's a fast running capstan motor. Hello and welcome to another Mr. Betabyte video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as it's a bit of a impromptu part 2 to the C5 Betamax. It's a repair from Ben, and remember in part 1 we saw that the mains plug basically was arcing and sparking about and causing fuses to pop, away fuse to pop in it. So went through the power supply anyway, absolutely fine. Run it, put a couple of cassettes to it, but also just left it on and out of standby, so powered on. Was thinking, right, it's all fine. Put a cassette in just to test it, and before I packed it up, and you can see what the problem is. Now you can see it is actually, it's almost like it's in picture search. It isn't. If I do picture search, it doesn't make any difference. In fact, the picture disappears. Yeah, it's just basically running the capstan motor like the clappers. So it looks like we've got bad caps on this one as well in the servo section, and after we've done that C6 last or not that long ago, and got another C6 to come with similar issues, it just looks like this is the common issue now with these machines, that even if you get one of these and it's playing fine, you've got it going, like power supply faults on a C7 or whatever, you've got it going, change those caps in the servo section. It's all those blue Sanyo caps. So I'm going to do that next. So yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so I'm a little bit up against it time-wise, so I'm going to try and whiz through this a bit more. The servo circuitry underneath seems fine. I'm forgetting that these aren't like the C9. Sorry, not the C9, the C7. Insofar as these don't suffer with the Sanyo caps issue in the same way, or capacitor issues in the same way. The main sort of drivers then for the motors, the head motor and the capstan motor, is this board here, which looks a complete nightmare to get to, but actually isn't. You take out the whole of the tuner section. This board folds down, you get access to it. It's a little bit like, reminds me a bit of some Toshiba decks actually, how that's done. So I'm going to try and just hold the camera while I do this, which means I'm doing it one-handed. So take the front off first. I have to admit, I don't think I have ever had a servo problem on a C5. I remember stripping a C5 down back in the early 90s, and that's probably the only time I've actually had to take this apart, take one of these apart like this. So yeah, just remembering how it all goes. I think no screw there. So all the same screws, of course. That one doesn't want to come out. There we go. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to have some connectors to undo. It's like the other machines that come apart like this. There aren't many, so this one here, I'll just sort of feel my way with this, and then there's one at the back there. We've got a earth strap as well here. I don't know whether it slides out, whether it's captive. Slides out, lovely. And then I'll unplug it for the sake of just being able to move the whole lot out of the way. And we can test it with it out the way. So there we go. I will just give this a quick clean, just a quick dust off, and then we'll get this board down, we'll have a look. Okay, so I've got the worst of the dust out, and pull these tabs back, and should be able to lift the board out, I think. Oh gosh, it's very tight. So, so it wasn't that much of a nightmare. Well, sort of still is in a way. So capstan drive there. So I am tempted to lift the board out if it's not too difficult to get to. So there's a screw there, and there's a screw just make out there. So I think I'll do that, and then we'll do some testing. Okay, so I've checked the board. There's no caps on it at all, so that's one good thing. We can rule any capacitor issues out. But I thought I'd just check all the transistors. They all seem to check okay. On diode check on the meter, I know that's not 100% guaranteed, but I would say there's a good chance this board is fine. It's interesting, you've also got the record inhibit switch and the rewind sensor as well. Rewind coil on this board, but yeah, the board checks absolutely fine. The only slight thing I noticed was this connector here, and this is actually the power connector, but also power off. So it's actually the one pin, I don't quite see that, is quite corroded. That wouldn't cause this issue. But it's not a bad thing to actually get cleaned up, so I'm going to do that next and then reassemble it. It's back underneath to check the servo, exactly what's going on. Probably get the scope out, have a look, see what waveforms we're getting. I'm wondering if I'm not getting an FG signal, to be honest, but we'll see. Okay, so doing some more checks. I have changed these tantalum capacitors here. These two as well I've changed. They tested okay. I've used electrolytics there, just haven't got any 10 microfarad tantalums about at the moment, so I've used electrolytics. That's fine. They're good quality as well. But I was sort of checking through it, didn't make any difference. Just checking through it and thinking, well, it must be this part of the servo circuit that's playing up. And I can't remember how I came to that conclusion, to be honest, because it's 2 weeks ago I did. But basically, because I've got FG signal from the top of the motor and from the capstan sensor as well, I'm sort of thinking that there must be something in the actual logic or how that is being deciphered by the this chip that is causing it to run at full speed, basically. So and I was looking around and I moved that, and lo and behold, I see that. And one of these others, I think, was also looking a bit crusty, but that one definitely is suspect. So I'm going to change that and give it a test. So yeah, that is C034, C34, which is actually this capacitor here. And this is definitely highly suspect because of where it is. So it's going to be causing problems with this transistor here. And this also affects the control, the speed control for the capstan motor. So yeah, it would be giving, or potentially pulling down, I would suggest, because that does go to ground there. is pulling down this transistor. So my way of thinking is that more than likely that's what's causing the problem. It's going to change it, and let's see if that does the trick. Okay, so I've changed the suspect capacitor. I've now found tantalums when I was looking for these two actually. I found I had some 10 microfarad at 16 volts, so that's great. These are 4.7. These are running as a bipolar type of capacitor, so they're back to back with the two negative leads effectively connected together across here, and a bit of print, so that would make them something like 1.2 microfarad, something like that. I think that's right. So that's cool, but I'll put a picture up of what the base of this cap was like. It was black. It sort of popped at the bottom of it. One of these, I can't remember which one. One of them had, you could see it was cracking at the bottom as well, and the print just looked a little bit like something had been going on. I don't know what was previous caps. I am debating what's happened with this machine. I don't think this originally came with these blue tants right the way through, and I just can't see it somehow. But I think it must have been done very early on in its life, because the solder, it does, when you look really carefully, it did look a little bit different, but I don't know. I just can't see that it was done like that from the factory. If you know any different, let me know in the comments. Maybe they did change it towards the end of the production. Don't know, but I doubt it somehow. Anyway, let's power it on and see if it's solved it. Okay, so it's still going way too fast. I've got a bit of a squeak there as well, which I will sort out. But yeah, it's going like the clappers. And I've just noticed this capacitor is also looking like it might have started going bad. So I think I'm just going to have to change. I think it's only this one, and this one left. And this one. But I don't think that's to do with capstan. I think that's to do with the head drum, which is actually running at the right speed, which is another reason why I think it is just localized to the capstan area. Yeah, so have a look at those, I suppose. Okay, so this is quite fun. I've put that capacitor in that had leaked into the tester, and it seems every time I press the button I get a different type of component registered. It's a diode. And now it's reading as a capacitor. 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 Yeah, so it's, the more I sort of put across it, the better it seems to get. But yeah, interesting. Okay, so I spent a lot of time on this. I still can't find what the issue is, but a few interesting things that don't quite add up. Not helped by the fact that the manual, the board is actually slightly different in this. I think this must be a later revision. I think I might have mentioned before actually, but it just makes things just that little bit more interesting. But just checking the various scope or various areas of the servo with the scope. So pin 13. Let's just do an auto on that. I need to put that back to play. We've got a nice healthy, that's the FG in. We've got the FG pulse on pin 12. That's also healthy. 2 volts, 1.95 volts RMS, peak to peak of 3.92, frequency of 9.37 Hertz. So if I slow it down, slowing down the capstan, you can see just how fast that's going. That is super fast. Okay. Free speed we're not worried about. Now the speed error, that was just crazy. I don't know whether I can get to that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pin 6. And I can't actually get a reading off it properly. I can't actually get a scope, a trace, because it is just so crazy. Which I suppose you'd expect. I've got that right, yes, pin 6. So, one thing I've found, if I go to record mode, let's move the camera. So when you put it in record mode, that's when it's using this Hall effect to measure the speed. I haven't actually tried unplugging that when it's trying to do that. So I think nothing happens. It just speeds up. What's interesting about that is when I measure the voltage across it, I'll plug that in a minute. When I measure the voltage across it, there should be 12 volts in record, and it's about 6.5 volts, but the 12 volt in for record to the board is fine. Now there's a capacitor and a diode between that 12 volt rail and here. So I need to check that, but again the layout's different on the board compared to the manual, so I have to find that. If you disconnect one of the FG wires, so these are the red wires from the FG from the top of the motor, the capstan will stop. It will grind to a halt gracefully, which is what I'd expect. There's no feedback, so yeah, it just the motor will just stop. So that side is fine. If I adjust the free spin, the cap free speed, I can see a voltage being adjusted, or going up and down relative to this. It's about 5.12 volts, I think it is, when it's in its correct position, or that's what I measured it as anyway before I adjusted it. And it goes down to just above 1, and it goes up to sort of 6.5 volts, I think it is. That seems to be right, especially looking at the manual. That seems to be fine. These two capacitors here, these again are like bipolar. One works at about 1.2 microfarads at 4.7s, 1.1 microfarad. Bipolar. One was intermittent. It was going intermittent open circuit, which I don't know, that could have happened when I removed it. The other one seemed fine though. But yeah, I'm just finding these tants are a little bit suspect. I had another one as well that I took out that I checked. Can't remember which one it was, but that was every time I tested it, it came back as another, like the other one, a different component. So it was a 20 ohm resistor again, and then it was a diode. It's just really strange. And then it would read a capacitance, which was low. But yeah, it's just a bit weird, that. So yeah, so I think I need to just have a look at that 12 volt rail, but this, I mean, that only affects the speed and record anyway, because obviously that is, if you like, artificially derived. There's no control pulses from the ACE head. Do want to check the ACE head again. I'm pretty sure it was fine, but I need to check that. But it's starting to, I just really don't know. It's really, you know, I don't know what the problem is going to end up being, but my goodness, it's a tricky one, this one. Yeah, so I'll crack on. So I've done some more testing. This is actually a spare board, or another board, base board from a Sony C7. It's an AS3 servo board panel, so it's essentially the same, but with additional electronics for the additional functions that the C7 has. Main reason I dug it out is because I was starting to suspect this chip might have been damaged by that capacitor behind here becoming intermittently a resistor, a 20 ohm resistor. But looking at the circuit diagram, although it is in the capstan side of servo control, I can't see that once it's replaced it shouldn't work, and I can't see this chip would be damaged by that going to a resistor. So yeah, so I'm sort of back looking at the capstan drive chip, or it's capstan control chip, and all around here I'm getting 12 volts when really I should be getting sort of 2-3 volts, depending on mode, whether it's record or playback. So I left that connector a little bit off, not that it really matters, but yeah, so I don't think this chip's bad, but yeah, like I say, measuring all around here, I mean, this diode, for example, goes between two stages of capstan control, and I've got 12 volts, well, nearly 12 volts on one side, and the other side I've got the diode drop of 1.2-ish volts, when I should have about 3 volts on there. So yeah, it's really odd. Now this, somewhere I'm getting 12 volts in there that I shouldn't be seeing, and if I wet finger these two transistors, especially Q6, I can actually slow down the capstan and it starts to steady quite nicely. So I wonder, maybe I've got a problem with one of these transistors. I mean, in circuit they test okay with a crude diode test, but I just wonder if it might be worth taking these out, probably Q6, and actually replacing it. I mean, I've got the other board, just test it by replacement, put it in the tester as well to see what it comes back with. But I wonder if I've just got a problem with one of these transistors, because the one side, I think on Q6, goes to the 12 volt rail. Yeah, so I'm suspecting Q6 rather than Q8, because I have got 0.1 on the base of Q8, but Q6, I've basically got 12 volts right the way around here. Now, I don't think it is that, I have to say. I'd be very surprised, because if you look, I've got 12 volts here, and this is coming from the motor drive board. So 12 volts is being introduced here and not here, unless there's some short to the 12 volt rail, shorting this resistor. I very much doubt it. I can't see how that would happen, but yeah, maybe I've missed something. And this transistor going bad, I can't really see that would cause the problems I'm getting. So it may well be it's actually from that motor control board. Somehow I'm getting 12 volts back, but it's just a bit odd that I can make this conduct and I'm getting the issue. Let's whip it out. Okay, so we have a normal running servo, which is absolutely fantastic. See there, tape is running at the right speed, so that's brilliant. I did change that transistor Q6. It made no difference. The transistor I took out did seem to be fine, to be honest, but it was it was not, the gain wasn't as high as this one. I don't know. I really don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I swapped it out anyway. Made no difference. Makes no difference. Still getting 12 volts on the capstan error rail. So with it having checked everything, the only thing it could be is the chip, the CX143A, and that is what it actually was. It's a bad chip. A little bit surprised. I mean, that capacitor, like I say, had gone to a resistor, which was not ideal. But that goes off this chip, but it failed. I mean, I think that's just coincidence. Just really odd. I was hoping to show you a picture of it playing back, but I've got something wrong, I think, with my setup. So I can't actually show outputs, but there are still a couple of issues with this. We've got that squeak that I want to investigate. I mean, it's fine when it's not running as stupidly fast. But having said that, when I fast forward, rewind, I'm getting that squeak. So I'm going to investigate that and investigate what's going on with the video signal. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. Part of me is just like, I just want to get this machine completed now. Yeah, we are up and running. Phew, that was really hard work. I just didn't want to believe it was this chip, even though it was really starting to point towards it, and it was like the logic in this chip, how the capstan speed is derived. Obviously one part of the process has gone. Which one? Not sure. Like I say, the inputs were all there, even though it was picking up fast running capstan, fast running in record mode as well, where you have an artificial signal for one part of the several signals for the capstan. So I'm stuttering a little bit because it looks like I might be getting a picture. Yeah, it's all very strange. But yeah, it's working. The Q6, by the way, if that fails or you remove that, you get no capstan at all. If you remove Q8, then I think probably what would happen is it would run fast. But having said that, so I was removing the 12 volts. When I took this, or I say 12 volts, when I took this out, you're actually removing the feedback. So, but it was still running fast, which was a bit of an indication that this chip was probably at fault. That was my last sort of port of call, because everything was there. All of the signals was there getting to the chip, just couldn't decipher it. So removing that, I actually would expect this the capstan to stop, because it wouldn't have any voltage. Either stop or go for, I don't know, but it wouldn't be running like that. So let me know if you want me to do just a bit of a extra video on this. It would be an extra one, it won't be a main one on a Saturday. I'm hoping I can get this one out in time for my normal release time for a video on a Saturday, 3 PM UK time. But I'm pushing it a bit. It's just been so busy. And this has been a pain. But I just really wanted to get to the bottom of it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe as well. It means so much to me, and it does really help the channel, and get these videos out there as well for people who are into this sort of thing. So yeah, with that, I will see you in another video. Bye for now.
fallen in love with a shampoo. New L'Oreal Elvive. Now even fine hair can have more body. Here comes the science bit. Concentrate.
L'Oreal has created Ceramide R, a duplicate of the hair's natural strengthener, which penetrates the hair, rebuilding its strength from within.
What does Elvive mean? Stronger, thicker, fuller hair.
New L'Oreal Elvive shampoo with Ceramide R.
Go on. Wash the strength back in.
This is Club Mix 97 Volume 2. 35 massive club cuts with U2. Byron Stingley, The Orb, and New Eurekan Soul. Club Mix 97 Volume 2 with Submerged, Depeche Mode, Blue Boy and Sue Lucky. Non-stop tunes, continuous mixes. Club Mix 97 Volume 2.
It's the 11 game moment.
No, it isn't, mate.